Voices, the podcast where we share the real stories, real experiences, and real voices from the trucking industry. I'm your host, Tim Taylor, and tonight we've got an incredible conversation lined up. Whether you're rolling down the highway, parked at a truck stop, or listening from home, we appreciate you taking the time to join us. This show is all about people who keep America moving. The professional driver, the families behind them, and everyone working across the industry. Tonight, we're joined by a very special guest, Nathan Wick. We'll hear about his journey in trucking, his experiences on the road, and some of the lessons he's learned along the way. A special thank you to Reese Across America. That's reaseacrossamerica.org/radio. And you can reach them and catch them on iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and the Odyssey app. Before we dive in, make sure to share this stream, tag a driver, and let folks know we're live tonight on Truckers' Voices. Opinions expressed on Truckers' Voices are those of the host and the guest and do not reflect the views of any employers, affiliates, or organizations for informational and entertainment purposes only. Well, here we are again. Let's see if we can get this thing fired up and going again. Sorry about having to cut the stream off earlier. Those difficult things happen sometimes. But hey, it's good to have you riding along with us here tonight on Truckers' Voices. We're going to get started again, and I believe we might have it worked out. So hey, y'all keep those fingers crossed, and we'll see what we can do. We're going to get into it here in just a second with Nathan Wick here, and but I want to give him a proper introduction one more time. Everybody, Nathan Wick.
Hello, Tim.
Hey, again.
How you doing? Good
Nathan,
to see you again.
Yeah, it's good to see you back on Truckers' Voices and to actually see you,
My second time on.
Second time on. Hey, you know what? You can tell everybody you've been on Truckers' Voices twice in the same day. We've never had that happen before.
I'm going to hold you to it.
Well, let's go ahead and get started, and we'll just start right from the top again.
All right.
And we'll just take our time and go through it. And we appreciate everybody that's hanging on with us there and, going through this with us there. So it is what it is. It happens sometimes. But, hey, I want to thank everybody that's listening to us over on Reese Across America Radio. We thank y'all for tuning in. Wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, thank you for listening to Truckers' Voices there, because that's what it's all about. It's all about getting to know about truckers. And you know what? We all have a voice and we all have a story, Nathan. And that's what it's about tonight, is hearing your story. So welcome again to the show. For folks who may not know you, just tell us a little bit about yourself and, where you're from, and we'll just jump right into it from right there.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Nathan Wick. I've been a truck driver for 31 years. I have almost 3 million safe driving miles. I've been with my current company, FedEx, for almost 5 years. I've been married to my beautiful wife for 22 years. I have 3 wonderful children, Alyssa, 26, Ethan, 17, and Lauren, she's 20, and 2 amazing grandkids, my grandsons, Miles and Wade.
I got you. There ain't nothing like those grandkids. I'm telling you, man.
It's a whole new life.
It's a whole new life, and there's no budget for them for sure.
Nope. Lots of Legos.
Right. So I'm going to just go back over the questions that we tried to get in there earlier. So tell us a little bit about, what sparked your interest in, getting into trucking, and, what led you to become, a truck driver.
I am a 3rd generation driver. Both of my grandfathers were truck drivers, and my dad drove for a while. And the stories that I heard them tell around the table, some of them may have been tall, some of them, kind of fishing stories, I'm sure. But they always sparked interest. They had kind of a romanticism, that kind of the open road. And I couldn't get enough of it. So when I turned 18, I started driving for a company called Zacaro's Produce, where I delivered to restaurants.
And delivering to those restaurants, do you remember your very first day, behind the wheel of that commercial truck? And, what was that experience like for you?
It was humiliating, to say the least. I learned clutch control real quick. We used to stack load our produce, so we would pick the loads and then we'd put them in as they're stacked, so we could just scoop them and take them off, and then we'd lock them in with bars. Um, when I got to my first stoplight, I was overexcited and I let the clutch out a little too quick, and I heard everything in the back go tumbling. Everything from eggs to meat. I lost a couple cases of eggs on that one.
Yes, like I said earlier, sounded like scrambled eggs to me for somebody for sure.
Yep.
So was that something that being a new employee, was that something that you had to pay for, or is that just something that hey they just kind of like hey let's try not to do that again?
Without so many words, they basically said, "Way to go, rookie."
How many times did that happen to somebody? I was trying to tell a story earlier, trying to fill some dead air, and I was telling them about my first day out, and I drove an old Brigadier tractor, and I could see the pavement in the passenger side, the floorboard was just so rusted out, and getting over there to my first stop and not knowing how to unhook the fifth wheel, didn't have a clue, and then absolutely I was trying to take the seal off and it was dark and I didn't realize it was a metal seal and I jerked it and I just sliced my fingers open with it. So some of the
Ow.
first day rookie stuff that happens to us. Um, how did you end up driving for your current company, FedEx, and what is your typical day like over there at FedEx?
I had left my previous employer after 15 years. I just wanted to change of pace. Um, I was kind of hanging around, trying to figure out where to go. Had a few opportunities, let people know that I was looking for a job, a handful of places. Some people were like, "Hey, come over here, come over here." But it was a gift from a dear friend, Rob Janke. It was a blanket with a big picture of a FedEx 777 on it. And I was looking at it. I'm like, well, I love aviation. I love trucking. Let's see if I can bring the two together. And I came here. I applied and I became a courier. And after 3 months, they said, you have a CDL. I think you're wasting your talent. Let's get you in the truck." And I became what we call an RTD, a ramp transport driver. I'm now also an RTDA, which means Ramp Transport Driver Administrator, which means I train drivers. So leading into what my day is, the last couple days, actually last couple weeks, I'm part of the apprentice training program. I take drivers or couriers that want to become truck drivers, and we go from 0 hours to their CDL. So that's been a big part of my job the last few weeks. I still drive random times, but my bid run is starts at 6:30 p.m. I run up to Fargo. I wait for an aircraft to come from Memphis, Tennessee. We offload it. It goes from the plane across our decks and right into my truck. We have sliders in our truck where the cans off the plane just slide right in. Um, I pull the air and we're ready to go.
And you know what? That just reminded me of something. You talked about your first day as a, truck driver, and now you're training some people from, like you said, from zero to their CDL,
Yes.
um, without really, embarrassing anybody. What's some of the funny stories that you see coming out of some of these drivers that you're training that are going from zero to their CDL?
I wait for the moment they basically they hold it in. They're going with their poker face, and then there's this moment where they just kind of smack the steering wheel and go, "I just can't get this." Urgh! And they turn red in the face and they get mad, and it's like, I was waiting for that because because we have to teach them in the manual transmission.
Yes.
So um, some of the people in their 20s, they've never touched a manual transmission. So that teaching them what a clutch does, that's a day long process.
Yeah.
And A lot of them get, it's very rewarding seeing someone who has no idea what a clutch does to being able to 90-degree back a 53 footer into a spot within 5 days.
Yeah.
It's very rewarding.
Right, right, and knowing that you're making a difference, and absolutely, that's going to be a lifetime career for some of these people, and you're a
Yes.
part of it there. Um, Being a truck driver, Nathan, what's the thing that you love the most about life, being a truck driver? When you're out there on the road, what's the thing you love the most about it?
The ever-changing scenery. Uh, there's always something. Even though I have the same route every night, it always changes. Whether it be, I get to watch a storm rolling from the west. You just get to see the lightning flashing off in the distance, or like the time I went to, I used to have the run up to Winnipeg for another carrier, and it was about 2 in the morning. The Pembina Highway it's pitch black. You can't see anything, and no one else was on the road. And all the snow around me started turning green, and I was like, what is going on? I'm thinking, am I going to get pulled into a spaceship or something? So I looked up and there it was. The Northern Lights were dancing. It's not like you kind of see in some movies. They were like pulsing. It was like a nightclub. And I found a safe place to pull over, and I got out for about and I turned the lights off, and for about 20 minutes that Mother Nature gave me a show I will never forget.
That's awesome. And I was telling you earlier that the atmosphere was just right. And last year down here in South Georgia, we got to see some of that, but it's nothing that we see all the time. But you know what? I do get to see some pretty cool things down here. I get to see a lot of rocket launches from Cape Canaveral. I'm that close that I can see some of the rockets launching, and
I will trade you.
you're there. Good. A quick little story because this is all about you, but I will tell you this.
Please.
I was on the Florida Turnpike one night, and it was back then when we were sending up the space shuttle still. And I was leaving Orlando with my loads, and I looked in my mirror and I seen this rocket going up in the air, and I was listening to the radio, and I knew there was going to be a rocket launch, and I was like, "Well, there it is." So I found me a good place to pull off. I turned around and looked, and I got to watch several of the space shuttle launches down there. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, you know what? We all have different things in the different regions that we live at that we can see there for sure. Um, let's move on, and I want to really hear your story because I heard that you had a story of something that happened to you that was tragic and how you overcome it. And I'm just going to back off the mic and you just take your time and take your liberty, okay?
All right, appreciate it. On January 2nd, 2020, I was the last driver in our yard at my previous employer. I was hooking my back box up, and as sometimes you get light issues, it's somewhere in the system you can't get it to light up. So you start running the problem and you step back, see if anything's taking. Well, when I stepped back on this the last time, I lost my footing on ice, and I started flailing around. And before I knew it, the next thing I know is my Apple Watch is going off and it's vibrating. It's making all these noises. And I realize I'm laying on the ground, and I look up and I'm looking at the kingpin of a trailer 2 doors over. Obviously, everything was fuzzy. I couldn't figure out heads or tails of what happened. But I could read on my Apple Watch that says you have 10, 9, and it just kept counting down to respond, or emergency services would be contacted. And I was embarrassed that I fell. So I said, I'm okay. I've fallen, but I'm okay. Took a few minutes, tried to get my composure, figured out where I was going. When I went to roll, I realized that my shoulder was raw. It hurt, and this was the shoulder I just had surgery on. Um, I thought, oh, great, I just blew it out. It took 8 months to recover from it. So on my hands and knees, I crawled to my truck. I got my phone, and I made my way inside because I figured if something's going to go wrong, I need someone around me. There was no one else on the yard. I was the last driver out. Went inside, reported to my managers that I think I fell down. And they gave me a few minutes. I realized I wasn't getting any better. So I said, I'm just going to go home, and hopefully I'll feel better in the morning. told my wife I'm coming home, explained what happened. And on the way home, I happened to call a dear friend, Captain Scott Post, and he talked with me the whole way. I'm thankful for that because I was a little fuzzy. Got home, did what you shouldn't do after a head injury, and I fell asleep in my chair. A couple hours later, I woke up, realized I need to go see a doctor. I went to a doctor uh, that was put I was put on by the company. The doctor was pretty flippant about what happened. They said, "You bumped your head, you have angry muscles, go back to work." Like,
Mm-hmm.
nah, I'm not feeling that. So I made an appointment with my doctor. This was a Friday afternoon, so I made an appointment with my doctor for Monday. I figured maybe over the weekend things will get better. Come Saturday afternoon, I'm sitting in my chair, and all of a sudden I locked up like I was being electrocuted, and I just started making noises, just and my wife come running and said, "What's going on?" And I'm like, "Ah!" And she said, "I'm calling an ambulance." And I talked her out of it, and she says, "You're going to the hospital." And I said, "Fine." Contact the hospital, went there. They put me on stroke protocol because they thought I might be having a stroke. They got me in pretty quick, and they started sticking me in every machine they could. They didn't find any brain bleeding, no broken skull, nothing like that. But they said, keep that appointment for Monday because these things can get worse real quick. And I was like, okay. I don't remember anything of that Sunday, but Monday morning, my phone rang. My wife had gone to work. She works like 5 minutes from our house. And I got a phone call from the hospital. And they're like, "Mr. Wick, can you come in early? We have a cancellation. We want to get you in as soon as possible." I couldn't
Wow.
respond. At that point, I started going "Bleh, bleh, bleh," just unintelligible noises. And she was like, "Can you get here as soon as possible?" And I text my wife to get home. I can't talk. We need to go to the hospital now. And they took me in, and that's when they said, "You've gone past a concussion. This is a traumatic brain injury," which they're kind of in the same thing, but there's levels, and they were worried I was getting bad real quick. Within a week, I lost the ability to talk and walk.
Wow.
Um, I had to be assisted with everything I did practically. I mean, uh, they wanted to give me a walker, but I settled for a cane. Um, After a while, I had to wear very dark sunglasses, earplugs, and pretty much had to sit in dark rooms because any kind of outside stimulus was debilitating to the point where I could pass out. I would sleep probably anywhere from 12 hours a day to 20 hours a day, just depending on where we were. And uh, every week it just kept getting worse and worse and worse to the point where I couldn't leave the house. And then COVID in 2020, they canceled my seeing any kind of therapist or anything for 3 months. And I could only do anything at night because sunlight was, well, basically I became a vampire because sunlight would
Was it
hurt.
giving you like
And I couldn't,
headaches and stuff like that?
it was beyond headaches. It would actually, things would start squiggling, and I had bilateral occipital
Yeah.
neuralgia. So if you ever had a headache that creeps over the back of your head and comes up, that's usually your occipital nerves. And mine were so flared up that one of the first meetings that we went to, the therapist had me lay on the table and she touched me and my neck, and I froze up and started screaming and crying. And my wife's like, "What are you doing?" And she goes, "I'm touching him like that." Just a light little touch. And it was enough to make me scream.
Wow.
And they wanted to give me all kinds of pain medications. And coming from a family with many kinds of addictions, I said, absolutely not. I'm going to ride this out. And I did. And for the better part of a year, I was debilitated and home ridden.
And definitely could not get back up in the truck and drive the truck.
No,
It's,
many neurologists had told me you will never drive a truck again.
yeah, yeah. Nathan, take us through recovery. Take us through that time.
the answer to what recovery was actually time. There was no, I mean, there was a few things. I had to get about a dozen shots of steroids into my scalp. So they put an ultrasound machine on my head, and they would stick these big needles into my head and inject each occipital. That did help. There were some other therapies that were good. There were some that were absolutely time wasting, like the lady who put a crystal on my chest and hummed. That didn't work.
Okay.
That was in a hospital. She put a crystal on me, put some pan flute music on, and said, "I'll be back in 20 minutes." And she's like, "How do you feel?" I said, "Worthless. Let's not do this again."
Yeah.
So as time went, things would slowly get better. Um, it did take into about February when it wasn't like a snap, like a light switch, but there was this moment where all of a sudden each day it felt like someone was turning down the voltage, and things were getting better and better. And without my wife, I would not be here. There's no question about it, because I had gotten to a point where I wasn't going to harm myself, but I didn't want to be a burden anymore.
Yeah.
That was it. That I was rock bottom has a basement, and I was living there.
Right, right, I'm just assuming you're a pretty independent person, and you like to do for yourself, and I can definitely understand that. You're not wanting to lean on somebody else. And um, during recovery, what kept you motivated to get back in that driver's seat? Because I mean, what motivated you through that?
I have been in trucking, I mean, at the time, roughly 20 something years. I had developed family, not only the brothers and sisters and the road team, but just friends from around the country through competition and just uh, other events. And I wanted to see my people. I want to get back to see my friends. Um, they had given me occupational therapy options to find something else, and I said, without tooting my own horn, I'm one of the best that does this. I'm very good at what I do, and I'd like to get back to it. But they basically laughed and said, "There's no way you're ever touching a truck." So another thing a friend of mine said was, I think he's too stubborn to realize he actually has a debilitating issue. And I fought through it. And I will say I have gotten a lot of wisdom through this whole ordeal. The phrase "knock some sense into me" definitely comes into play, but I would say faith, family, and uh, some amazing friends. I got through it, and I can't thank them all enough.
So, if you look back on that, how has that experience changed you as a driver and also as a person?
I don't like working on icy days, that's for certain.
You need to transfer to Florida,
um,
man.
Looking into it, it's either Texas or Florida. um, it definitely, my caution, my spidey senses have gotten pretty aggressive. Um, when we get any kind of ice, which happens in Minnesota, no pun intended, we I have to wear um, some kind of cleat on my shoes, because if I get a little bit of a slip, it it's I get the chills, I get the shivers, and I just get super shaky. In fact, through that whole process, I now have a permanent tremor.
Oh,
I don't know
I
if you
can
can
see it.
see
Yeah.
it. I, I never wore glasses before, and I now have to wear special hearing aids for sound issues that I developed through the head injury.
Yeah, and if there's any other drivers that ever go through, a tough time, what would you say to those drivers right now?
There's so many things you'd want to say, but just hold on. It does get better. Um, Again, I literally sat in darkness for months and months. Um, Without sounding too corny, but there is a song that I think for someone who is depressed. It's from the band Stained. There's a lyric that someday I will wake up and everything has changed. But till then, I will dream of better days, living with the sorrow and living through the pain. I will live for better days. And that is, I think, what everyone has to realize. Don't go with this whole light at the end of the tunnel as a train coming for you. It's your spotlight. Go step in it.
Good point. Good point. Wow. And you and I, we well, do the TDC things, and
Yes.
slip, trips, and falls, man.
Oh
And
yeah.
you was part of that statistic,
Yeah, it's nice to be a statistic.
So tell, I mean, hey, right now before I move on into
Mhm.
I want to talk to you about the TDCs. I'm going to transition into that, but tell everybody, give them a word of advice about ice and stuff like that, and slipping and stuff like. Just give us some advice.
If you can see a reflection of lights, you're in danger. Do not ever give any kind of, don't think that you can go slipping across and be cute and scoot across the driveway. Get some salt, get some sand, get 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 some prevention on there. And if you can, if you live in areas like myself, um, get those ice cleats. They're going to save your life for 15, 20, whatever bucks. It's a lot better than what is basically, I am technically permanently disabled,
Yeah,
but I don't listen to that. We got to get back to work.
that's right. Got to get stuff done, right?
Yep.
All right. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the truck driving championships. We won't stay here long, but
Okay.
how did you first get involved in the TDCs?
I learned about the truck driving championships with the company that I got my license through, which was American Freightways, which had become FedEx at the time. And my trainer, Mike Westfall, had these patches on his shoulders that said truck driving championships. I was like, well, what's that all about? He goes, he explained it to me, and we went out on the runs, and he just kept talking about it. I'm like, you know what? I think when the time comes, I'm going to give it a shot. First year in 2002, I placed second and was, I believe, a runner up for Rookie of the Year.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And 2002. That's about as long as I've been competing. And
Mm-hmm.
I just got to learn how to drive a truck, man. That's all my problem is. I'm good in the back room. I just got to learn how to drive a truck.
Yeah, I've been lucky. I've been focused, and that's another thing through the brain injuries. My focus has locked in on some things,
Yeah.
my special powers, if you will. Um, I've last year pre-trip, I got a perfect score, got my first in 2025 after 20, off and on 24 years of competing. Year before that, I got pre-trip, missed perfect by one. Got second, very close second by 20 points. And then the year before, yeah, that was a mess. Then that it had nothing to do with me. I did the work, but they lost my score. So
Oh, oh yeah.
uh, but I'm glad it happened because now, as David Goggins says, I'm coming for souls.
There you go. There you go. Let it motivate you for sure.
Yep.
So, going back to 2002, what was your first competition like? Was you nervous or was you excited?
Both.
Both.
It was weird because I was 23 and I come in and I was just a baby compared to these other folks. I mean, you got people with 30-year rings and patches and all this stuff on them, and they're gray hair and pepper gray or whatever, and I'm just this kid coming in with spiked hair and a Deftones T-shirt under my polo. So, uh, I did the work and I was pretty surprised at where I landed at second. So I got hooked pretty quickly. But it was also at that um, truck driving championships where I met my first America's Road Team captain. And that is where I was like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. I'll give it about 15, 20 years. I'll give it a shot maybe if it's still, if it's a thing.
Yeah, yeah. For someone or somebody that's even thinking about getting into the TDC or who's never been to the TDC, how would you describe the experience?
Um, it's amazing. You get to make some new friends, maybe a couple enemies. Uh, It's I look forward to it every year. I took some time off to take care of the kids as they were growing, but now it's a fixture. It we have to do it. It's exciting. It's a gut check, but you also have to realize that you don't worry about who's in your competition because it's you versus you. It's you and the machine.
Yeah.
You don't. It's not like you have someone out there, while you're doing your pre-trip, slapping your flashlight out of your hand, being a defender or something. It's you and how you take all that you do and put it to task. If you can focus and you can get past your own nerves, you'll do just fine.
Right, right. Um, do you have any memorable or either anything funny moment from a competition that you can remember?
Um, I would say memorable. I've had plenty of funny moments, but the most memorable has to do with a gentleman who is no longer with us, a Bill Pudney. It was 2013, and I was in the sleeper class, and I had taken a lot of time up, and we didn't have a speed limit on the course. So after I did a forward serpentine, you had to back through again, and it was a big long nose Kenworth. And after I got through, I start grabbing gears because the last thing, it was the second to last thing. I was coming out of the fifth problem going to the sixth, and it was a front line stop. And I knew that big hood, is going to be a crapshoot. So I just started grabbing gears, and I don't know where I was, but everyone's like, "Whoa!" Because I wanted to beat the time, and I hauled and got up there and I stopped and I was within inches. And I got out and I looked and Bill had come up to me and we'd been competitors so many times that he just smoked me. And he grabs my shoulders. He said, "That was beautiful." And I'm like, "Thanks." And everyone's, "Oh, you think you could go any faster on the course?" It's like, and then lo and behold, I got a deduction because I had my jacket in my hand when I got out of the truck.
Oh no.
I went from first to second that
Just like
way.
that. Wow, wow. So it's anybody that's a rookie or anybody that's, fixing to compete for the first time or that's thinking about, ever competing, what advice would you give that driver, that wants to compete in a TDC?
Sign up. Don't let anyone don't let anyone talk you out of it. If you want to do it, do it. Don't. Oh, is there a time clock? Is there? I've heard every excuse. Well, oh, I don't want to make you look bad. It's it's exciting. If you want to see what you're made of, go for it. It's a heck of a time. I've made, again, like I said, some great friends. Um, I think I have a brother from another mother with Matt Simon,
Yeah.
Scott Posts. I mean, a whole bunch of other people, and it's I've had a great time, and I look forward to many more.
Gotcha, gotcha. That reminds me, fancy man demands fancy things.
He took my line. I'm a fancy man. I demand fancy things. And he and I, when we fly together, uh, sometimes we have to do that first class. We have to go on the lounge because got to feel fancy sometimes.
There you go. There you go. So just a few minutes ago, you mentioned about America's Road Team, and you're
Yes,
America's Road Team captain.
yes.
Becoming America's Road Team captain, is always a huge honor. And so, what did that moment mean to you? Because I know that you was young whenever you become a
Yeah,
captain.
very young. According to what I'm told, if not the youngest, one of the youngest ever. And again, just like with the truck driving championships, I was in a room with some amazing, amazing drivers, and they referred to me as the kid. I mean, here I am, 35 with kids, and they're calling me the kid. Um, when when Miss Barna called my name, I stood up, and I barely could keep my legs steady. But we didn't have to remain standing, thankfully, because I wouldn't have made it. I sat down, and Seth was sitting next to me, and he's patting me on the back and said, "Congratulations, good job." And I had my napkin over my face because I just started bawling, just man bawling. So, but I knew also that I had a lot of work to do. Um, And again, I think my youth may have worked for me, but lack of experience in some parts may have worked against me. And uh, through time and experiences, I think that wisdom has come to me now.
Yeah. What year did you serve?
2013, 2014.
Okay. All right. And was that the year that Herschel got on the team?
Yep. Herschel, Don Logan, the late great John Lex.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch. Thomas Miller. I mean, the list goes on.
Yeah.
Some very very great people on that team.
Yeah. And, if there's a listener out there that doesn't know what a America's Road Team actually does, can you kind of explain that for us?
So America's Road Team, we are the faces of the 3.6 million truck drivers in this country, the professional truck drivers. Um, we get the opportunity to speak in front of large groups of diverse groups of people, whether it be people at like state fairs, lawmakers at state capitals, DC. Um, we get some great opportunities to represent the essentiality and um, the face of trucking.
Gotcha, gotcha. What's one message about highway safety that, as a road team captain and a professional driver that you share to the public?
My favorite message is keep your eyes on the road. Keep your eyes moving. Don't the text isn't worth anything. It doesn't matter if you're closing on a house or whatever. Keep your eyes on the road. It takes seconds for your life to change. You know, my situation, 1 second, my life changed. Um, you move very fast, and before you know it, things are going to get away from you. Keep your eyes on the road.
Gotcha. Have you ever had a memorable moment while you was sharing your experiences with students or the public about trucking?
I had a really great time at the 2016 National Truck Driving Championships. We had Interstate One inside the arena next to the the course, and there just happened to be a large group of people from around the world at the stadium down the street, Lucas Oil, I think it is,
Yeah.
and they got some free time and they were going around, and there's people from all over the world walking around, and I got to meet a bunch of people, a guy from Scotland, and a couple from Japan, and they had never seen a truck that big before.
Wow.
And I got the keys and opened up the door and let them sit inside. And the one lady was like, "This is bigger than my apartment." And she's like, "This goes down the road." It's like, "Yeah, we drive this." That big Volvo. I think that was a 780 we had at the time, and it's like, "There's bunk beds," and I showed her the refrigerator. It's like, "Where's the bathroom?" It's like, "We haven't gotten that far yet."
Yeah. Yeah, it's the closest rest stop that you
Yep.
can get to for sure.
But they absolutely, it was a great experience. They were taking pictures, and it was that international introduction to American trucking.
I got you. I got you. And that had to be in Indianapolis, right?
Correct.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Um, one last question about the road team I want to talk to you about. So, what do you
Yes.
think people misunderstand most about, professional truck drivers?
That's a tough one. Um, I think there's this lore of we're just kind of these nomadic folk that just kind of go from town to town and do whatever we want, and that's you know we kind of own the road because we're so big, and that's not even close. I want you to get home safe just as much as you do. Um, it's definitely every chance I get to change someone's opinion of truck drivers, I will take it because like some people in the past, like, oh, what do you do? It's like I'm a truck driver. No, really, what do you do? Because they have this vision that I'm supposed to be like in a plaid shirt and jeans and boots and stuff. And I do have plaid shirts, but um, there's just this weird uh, visual that I think people get when they think of a truck driver, and I want them to see the professionals that we are.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, The trucking industry has changed a lot over the years for sure. I
Yes, it
mean,
has.
we went from paper to now we're on electronic logs, and we could go on talking about this on and on.
Right.
What what changed? What changed? What are some of the biggest changes that you've seen, and how have they impacted you?
I would say technology, as you pointed out with like ELDs and whatnot, um, they have made things a little more comfortable. I mean, along the lines of you have the cell phones that have better coverage, so you can talk to your friends while doing the run at night. Keeps you alert. Also, you can get a hold of people when you truly maybe have an issue, maybe a breakdown or something. Um, some of the comforts of the trucks have definitely changed. Um, just thinking along the lines of seats, uh, steering. Uh, Heck, I remember the first steering wheel was like this big, huge. You had to really reach. You had to have a wingspan to drive that thing. And now, like some of the trucks that I can see out the window here, we have electric power steering,
Yeah,
and they steer better than a forklift.
right.
And I think that's a great advantage to take the fatigue off of the driver, and so you can get to your destination or where you need to be a little bit more refreshed than the old loud diesels of my grandfather's age.
That's right. That's right. And I'll tell you how far we come. I picked up a truck in Houston, Texas one time, and I was carrying it back up to DC to drop it off. And, I picked it up and I'm going down the highway, and, all of a sudden it starts pulling to the left a little bit, and I'm like,
Mm.
"Whoa!" So I was like, "Okay, this thing's got lane assist on it," and so I just kind of loosened my hands up on the wheel and just let it drift to the right, and it just straightened itself right back up and got right back in the middle of the lane. So yeah, we definitely have come a long way with technology.
Yes.
I'm not a big fan of that lane assist, to be honest with you.
No, we have that in some of our tractors, and it's known as LKA, lane keep assist. And when I get in, I turn it off because there have been times where maybe like an off ramp, if it's holding a little too, it's holding onto that line, it will detect that lane shift and it wants to go off the thing because it thinks the road goes that way.
Right.
So I turned that and the lane departure warning off, and I just keep my eyes on the road, and everything does just fine.
There you go. You're a professional, right?
Yes, I am.
And speaking of being a professional, safety goes along with being a professional. What safety habits have helped you stay successful and professional on the road?
Again, with the keeping my eyes on the road, some companies have, the Smith system, five seeing habits and whatnot. Following those have been very helpful in everything. Um, Keeping plenty of space between everybody. Even if a car gets in front of you, maybe a little too close, time to get off the gas or off the throttle. Give that extra space because things can happen real quick. It's just better to have that reaction area if you can keep it.
Right, right. You know, thinking back to young Nathan driving the produce truck there,
Yeah.
um, today they're pushing for, 18-year-olds to be able to cross state lines. Uh, and can you, give us your opinion on that?
It's
That's a tricky one.
it is a tricky one. It's very tricky because I've met some very, very mature 18-year-olds, and then I've remember myself as an 18-year-old. And these are things where as they are properly vetted, I mean, really put through the paces, and they get the proper training, not just stamped and put out on the road. I think they could be uh, long time great professionals, but they do need a lot of training.
Right, right. And I definitely agree. And, I have my opinion on it. And I believe that, if some of our 18, 19, and, 20-year-olds can go and serve in our military and fight for us and
Yep.
and use that heavy equipment, you know, I believe that they can be, be a professional truck driver and cross state lines. Because think about it, you got 18-year-olds that's intrastate that that drive in Texas. Think about how big Texas is. Uh,
Large.
yeah, very,
Montana.
yeah, Montana, very, very, very large. But then, I will also say this: not every 18, 19, or 20-year-old needs to be behind a wheel truck. So, like you said, they have to be vetted for sure, and it
Yes.
has to be the right candidate. Like for me,
Yes.
I grew up on the farm. I always grew up with heavy equipment and all. It's just always been in my wheelhouse. So, okay. Is there any kind of advice that you would give somebody right now if they're thinking about getting into the trucking industry and becoming a truck driver today?
I often give advice because I through the building sometimes it's like, hey, you're a pretty good driver. Why don't you come over to RTD? We have a lot of couriers in the building, and uh, pretty much all you have to do is sign up, and we can, if we have a position, there's some stuff they have to fill out and whatnot. But I tell people that in my 31 years of being a commercial driver, I've never gone without a job. I've gone between companies. I mean, if you want to think about it, I've been with 5 different companies. Some of them are not around anymore. Some have combined, but um, you will always have a job, and it will be a pretty darn good paying job, depending. And if you have a niche you want to get into, maybe you want to do flatbed, maybe you want to do tanker, maybe you want to, like me, I do air freight now. I get to be around airplanes all day. So find your niche, get your license, and enjoy the freedom of the road.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And just going back to a previous question, about truck drivers, it's not like it used to be. You can choose, whether you want to stay regional,
Yes,
local, or if you do want to go on the road, you can. I mean, like you said, find your niche, what works out for you. It's not having to be gone 2 and 3 weeks, a month at a time anymore, for
right.
sure, for sure. Um, Nathan, what keeps you motivated about trucking after, everything that you went through with, your medical situation? What keeps you motivated about this job?
Um, I would have to say lately it's been the company that I work for, FedEx. I've had many of opportunities come my way with different kinds of runs, different kind of training opportunities. Um, it's Things are constantly changing, and I'm one of those folks that is up for a challenge, and uh, I welcome it, and I look forward to some maybe some growth opportunities here in the future.
I got you. I got you. And I know that I didn't give you a heads up on this question for sure, but tell
Uh-oh.
us a little bit about your accomplishments within FedEx. Some of your milestones that you've hit over the years with FedEx.
With FedEx, I've gotten 4 Bravo Zulus, which are kind of above and beyond rewards. I've got my 4 year, fingers crossed, my 5 year safe driving record. Um, I finally got after the long chase, I finally got my uh, truck driving championship first place, and the multiple uh, the multiple pre-trip awards. Um, but what I've been very honored in is that I've been trusted with some very valuable training with some of these drivers. We have 9 drivers on our roster right now that need to be trained, and every week we I welcome a new challenge. Each of these people have uh, things that they might be good at, might not be. The gentleman I had last week, I practically didn't even need to be there. He never touched a cone the whole time. I'm telling him, come to the truck driving championships.
Right, right. Well, that's awesome. In this industry, it takes a lot of determination and courage to keep going and keep trying and keep going after same things as far as goals, and you speak about the TDC, and
Mm.
you know, I'm chasing after a goal myself right now. I've got so many second and third place finishes, but I'm
Been there, been there.
yeah, it's almost like it's a cycle, and I'm chasing after that first place, and I'm gonna get it one day. I just keep working on it. But how important is determination and mindset in this industry?
Mindset is everything. If you're having a rotten day, if you're just like just what if you just kind of have this whatever attitude, you don't need to be behind the wheel that day. You need to be focused. You need to be ready because things are changing. Distracted driving is getting out of hand. Um, People are doing some wacky things out on the road. You have to have your game face on when you get behind the wheel. Determination, again. I hope that most people, when they get into this industry, they see it out because it's a it's a very important industry, as we learned in 2020 and beyond. And we are very essential, and we keep America going.
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up about 2020 because you know what? During the COVID era, we were, looked at as heroes. Man, I tell you what, there was people on the side of the road with signs giving out sandwiches. I mean, they was doing all kind of things.
Mhm.
Uh, you know, did you experience any of that whenever you was on the road back in 2020 and 2021 and all that era there?
2020, unfortunately, that was during my brain injury, so no. Uh,
Okay.
but 2021, I actually got on with a carrier where I was over the road, stayed in hotels every night. Um, but I went to 42 states that during that time with that carrier, and yes, I did get to see you pull into a truck stop and they would offer you, thank you for your, basically not taking valor from our service folk. Um, Thank you for your service to the country. Thank you for your service. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for this. It's like, thank you. I'm just doing my job. That's just humble, and it was kind of embarrassing at times, but I accepted the gift and went about my day.
Yeah. Hey, and I just got a few more questions to go, and
All right.
we're entering what we call the post trip part of the show. So
Ah,
we're gonna start post tripping this show, and I'm glad that we've able to get through it, and we went over what our normal time is. But I'm glad you stayed around for it tonight, and
I'm
I
glad we
appreciate.
got it figured out too.
Yeah, no doubt. So let's talk a little bit about the personal side of Nathan Wick here.
Okay.
So Nathan, when you're not driving or representing, the trucking industry, what do you enjoy doing in your free time?
Uh, any chance I get, I try to hang out with my grandkids. They live in Montana, so that leads into my big passion is travel. Try to travel as much as possible. Love going new places with my wife and kids. Uh, Musician. I've been playing music most of my life. I grew up in a musical family. Uh, if I was doing this in my house right now, you'd see a long uh, area full of guitars because I just happen to have quite a few. Other than that, uh, just yeah, travel's my biggest thing.
See, that's something I didn't know about you. I'm glad you brought that up. So how long have you been playing the guitar, or do you play anything other than the guitar?
I try to play the drums, but it gets pretty loud. I have a drum set, guitars, but mostly bass. I've the second I laid my ears on funk and bands like Primus and uh, like Cliff Burton from Metallica, I knew that was the uh, instrument that I wanted. It just has this melancholy feel at times, but then it could be the sound that shakes things. I mean, my wife will attest that I have played bass to the point where it has rattled things off our Christmas tree,
Yeah, that's hitting a very, very, very low, low, low note there for sure.
and that's at 2. This goes to 11.
Wow, wow. Speaking of people, who's been one of your biggest influence or mentors in your career?
That is a tough one because I've had the honor of working with some of the best in the industry. So if I can, probably about 5 or 6 names. The first one would be, as I mentioned before, Mike Westfall. He is the one that told me that this is more than just a job. I was kind of flippant during my road training, just kind of, yeah, it's a job, get over yourself. And he's like, are you the kind of driver you want on the road with your wife and kids? And that right there changed it right there for me. Um, Again, I mentioned Bill Pudney, great competitor. The amazing Phil Warren. He worked for another company. He was human resources. He's the one that talked me into signing up for the America's Road Team and taught me the other side of professionalism, that executive kind of side.
Mm.
Uh, so many people. Uh, Names sadly are escaping me at this moment. But again, I've had Ray Simon, 3-time national grand champion. He taught me my pre-trip. One afternoon, I was just like, I'm having trouble with it. Can you show me? He goes, yeah. He puts his gloves on and he shows me a national grand champion type thing. And he's like one of the best. And he just, yeah, I'll help you. No problem. No ego, no nothing. Even though he's got the walls, the plaques on the wall, and I can't thank any of them. I can't thank them enough for what they have done to help me proceed through my career.
Matt Simon, Ray Simon. Is he any kin to Matt Simon?
No, not that I know of. I mean, it might be,
Both good
might be.
drivers. Both good drivers.
Yes, yes, fierce competitors. I'll say that.
Got you. I got you. Is there and this will be the last question before I get to my final question, though, is
Okay.
there a team of guys that you normally get with and you guys are kind of like comrades and y'all practice together and feed off
Oh
each other?
yeah. Yep. Yep. We're a band of brothers. Matt Simon, Scott Post, Christian Ropsch, uh, uh, Alex Lofgren. We've got a group that we travel thick and we practice quite a bit. Um, and luckily, I've had the honor of having some great management here.
Yeah.
Um, we have some lines painted in our facility. If you look at Google Maps, you'll probably see those lines painted.
Yeah.
Uh, every year, because of the snow plows, they kind of dull the lines. And my managers, when they restripe the parking lot, have those lines retouched up, and they've been critical in our practices. So I can't thank Dennis and Nick enough
Yeah.
and Rick and Tony and the rest of the gang for what they've done for us in that aspect.
Yeah, absolutely, and you know what, you got to have a support team behind you, and also, like you said, your brothers and comrades there to help you out for
Yes.
sure. One last question, and we're going to wrap this thing up. Okay, we got about 2 minutes left before we're going to go off the air here.
All
So,
right.
all right, here's a fun question for you here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, at the end, if you could take a dream road trip in any kind of truck anywhere in America with any famous person riding shotgun, what truck would it be? What route? And who's in the passenger seat?
I would go. I'd probably go New York to LA with a Volvo,
Okay.
and I'd have Rodney Dangerfield in riding shotgun because it would never be a dull moment.
No,
Uh,
no doubt.
oh, oh,
Right, right, yeah, and that would make the miles go by pretty fast for sure.
Probably have to pull over a few times because I couldn't breathe from laughing.
Well, Nathan, if you'll go hang on right after we go off the air here in just a minute, I'll talk to you on the other side. But I want to thank you for coming on Truckers Voices and sharing your story. And, we always end with a word of encouragement and a word of advice and safety. So I'm going to give you the floor and then I'm going to close the show out.
Uh, I want to say to everyone, um, times get tough at times can get tough. Keep your head up, whether it be financial, um, whether it be maybe your work, things change. Keep your head up. Things will get better. Things things are going to be fine. And also put those phones down, buckle your seatbelt, and enjoy the ride. Life is great.
All right. Well, folks, that's it for tonight. I want to give a big thank you to our guest, Nathan Wick, for taking the time to come on the show and share his stories and his experiences with us. The conversations like these are what the podcast is all about, giving drivers and people in the industry a place to be heard. A special thank you to our sponsor, Patrick Lauro. And also, I want to thank Reese Across America Radio. And you can find them on the TuneIn app, the iHeart radio app, and also iHeart TuneIn app. I'm sorry, I'm just getting my words all mixed up. But to everyone who tuned in tonight, whether you're out there on the road or listening later or watching from your home, we truly appreciate your support. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, be sure to share it, invite someone else to follow the page, and help us continue to grow the Truckers Voices community. Remember, every driver has a story, and every miles matter. Until next time, stay safe out there, keep the wheels turning, and keep the conversation going. I'm your host, Tim Taylor, and that's been a good Truckers Voices, and good night, everybody.
Good night.
Trees line the roadside, the sun shines in the grass. Hilly hill behind me, another overpass. Loading out Abilene, headed to the coast. The freedom of the 4-lane is the thing I love the most. 18 wheels take me through rain and sleet and snow. 13 girls will pull me anywhere I want to go. Sometimes I wonder if it's worth it, but I know there's a lot of people out there that are counting on my load. Trees line the roadside, the sun shines in the grass. Another hill behind